Hello everyone, welcome back to Art Apart. This is the second installation of our crafting series here at the Boulder City Library. My name is Kaylee and I'll be crafting along with you today. This month for December we have 3 different crafts. 2 of them are decor crafts and 1 is a possible Christmas gift craft. And I hope that you guys enjoy all of these different crafts that I will show you today. So the first craft will be a pom-pom garland. I've been seeing these around at different stores where you can buy different decor pieces to go with all of your holiday decorations, and I thought that I could make it for a lot cheaper than $10. So it's a quick, easy craft that's really fun. It's just pom-poms made out of yarn strung along to make a cute little garland, so I will show you guys that one first. And then our second craft will be a book page wreath with some extra embellishments to make it a little bit extra holiday-like, and I will show you guys that right now. Here is my prototype of the book page wreath. I'll be making one along with you guys in this video as well, with some different kind of decorations to add to it to give you some other ideas. But I think that this is really beautiful for the holiday times, and it's something fun that you can make yourself. And then our last craft, the gift craft, is going to be a sugar scrub. So if you have any ladies in your life or anyone that likes to slough off some dead skin while they're in the shower, this is a really nice sugar scrub to kind of treat yourself with. So I'm really excited to craft with everyone, so thanks for crafting with me. Okay, so starting with our first craft, we are going to talk about making a pom-pom garland. So you can see I already made some pom-poms to kind of speed up this process, but all that you'll need to make this pom-pom garland is any kind of yarn that you have. This is just Red Heart medium weight yarn that I had in my yarn collection. If you saw the last video, most of you know that I crochet, so I had a lot of yarn around at home. And these are 3 different kinds of yarn, and Red Heart yarn is pretty inexpensive, but if you just wanted to make like a white pom-pom garland, it wouldn't take that much yarn. But I had these 3 colors and I thought they were very Christmassy, so I'm going to go ahead and make my garland with these ones. So you'll want to think about how long you want your garland to be, and I would recommend having maybe 2 pom-poms per foot of space that you want to cover. So today I'm going to be working with about 11 pom-poms to make a shorter-ish garland. So to make a larger pom-pom, I'll use the white to make my larger pom-pom. I'm just going to use my hand to make these pom-poms because I found that was the easiest for me. But there's a whole bunch of different ways to make pom-poms online, and if you find a method that works well for you, go ahead and use that method. But I like to just use my hand. So for a large pom-pom, I'll use all 4 fingers of my hand and I'll just wrap the yarn around until I get to a thickness that I like. So to make these pom-poms, all you'll need really is some yarn and a pair of scissors. So let's start by making a large pom-pom. A big important part about this too is to make sure that you're not cutting off the circulation in your fingers. So I'm not going very tight and I spread my fingers out a little bit as well. To me looks like about a good thickness. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip off my yarn to kind of match the length here. And then I'm gonna just slide this off my hand, making sure it doesn't get caught on my wedding ring. Let's see. And then I want to keep it in this looped fashion. I kind of didn't do a very good job, but that's good enough. So we have it there on the table, and then I'll just take a length of thread, and then I'm going to lay down my thread and put my little bundle of yarn right in the center so that this is the direction all of the loops are going, and then this is the direction that extra piece of yarn is going. So I'm gonna just tie it once, as tight as I can get it, just one little regular knot, and then I'm gonna flip it over and then loop these strands back around and tie it on this side. This I found helps me get a tighter knot, and you'll see with these, it's important to get a tight knot so that your strands of yarn don't fall out when we cut them into a pom-pom. So I got that, and I'm making my second tie to secure it, and then I'll just go back and make that a square knot, tying the opposite direction. So with these strands, I will just bring them to the outside of this like pancake circle that we've made and cut them so that they are a similar length. And then I'll save those, put those to the side. And then now you have this little pancake, so you'll want to go through and cut all of these loops here. And then you'll start to form your pom-pom. There are other methods of making pom-poms, like making your own cardboard guide. There are pom-pom makers available at different craft stores, but I found that this was the easiest and quickest way for me. And in like the guides and the store-bought guides and the guides that you can make yourself, it was just hard for me to get my scissors in to cut these loops. So I preferred this, but I will leave some different methods down below for you to peruse if you don't want to use your hand. You can also, if you want to make super tiny pom-poms, smaller than this one, you can use a fork to wrap your yarn around, which is kind of fun, but I wanted a bit of a more medium-sized pom-pom for this project, so that's how I went about it. So we're just continuing. I'm kind of fluffing to make sure that I get all of the loops that are below the longer strands as well. And you just want to cut all of the loops. This is a good time too, if you wanted to make like pom-pom ornaments for your Christmas tree, save one of the loops that you have going on here, and then you could attach like a little Christmas ornament hook inside of the loop and just hang a little pom-pom on your Christmas tree, which I think would be really cute too. Maybe you make a pom-pom garland and then some pom-pom ornaments to match it. That would be super cute. So the next step in this process is to go ahead and give our pom-poms a little haircut. And this is where, if you're making tons of pom-poms, it gets kind of messy and you have all of these extra little nubbins left over. And if you don't want to be wasteful with these nubbins, you could use them to like fill a different like project as like a filler or something like that. But it's kind of fun to just give your pom-pom a little haircut. I just want everything here to be pretty even, so you can see that some of these are coming off a little bit longer than others, so I want him to have a nice consistent haircut. My boy pom-pom, apparently. This one's looking good. Sometimes I give my pom-pom a little toss around, shake it to make sure it's nice and fluffy and how I want it to look. But this is a pretty fun process. I could cut pom-pom's hair for days. But so that is the larger size of pom-pom. And something that I want to note too, the more yarn you wrap around your hand, the thicker your pom-pom will be. So you can see that this one is a little bit more dense than the one that I just made. And if you want them to be super even, you could count the number of times that you wrap the yarn around your hand. But you know, it's fun to have different pom-poms. They're unique like snowflakes. But something else I wanted to mention, when your pom-poms are denser like this one, it's a little bit harder to tie that securing yarn around to make sure that everybody stays on the inside. So if you're just beginning, I would recommend kind of making a less dense pom-pom. I also like them when they're a little floppy. They're kind of cute. Now, for our smaller pom-pom, I'm going to do the exact same process I just did with that larger white pom-pom, except instead of using 4 fingers, I'm going to just use 3 fingers. And in this too, I'm not spreading my fingers apart as much as I did before as well. So that is about the thickness I want. That's about as much as I can fit on my fingers. But so, like before, I'll cut it, slide it off, set it here on the table, get myself another length of yarn. Lay it down and tie it together. And then now that I have this little disc, I'll go through just like before and cut through all the loops and give it a little haircut. There we go. So now that all of our pom-poms are ready, we can assemble our garland. Okay, so to assemble our garland, I'm going to just lay out my pom-poms in the order that I want them to go. So I know this is kind of coming out of frame just a little bit, but I want each of my big white pom-poms, and then I want to alternate my red and maroon pom-poms in between each of my big pom-poms. So this table is a little small, but I want to leave maybe like a half-foot gap between each of my pom-poms so that this is a little bit longer of a garland. So I'm just going to take a length of the white thread, if I can find the end. I'm gonna start with maybe like 10 feet long. And then I will take my little tapestry needle or my crochet needle. This is just a larger, thicker needle that, that I can use to go through these pom-poms. Starting with this pom-pom on the end, I will just go through the center. Until my needle comes out the other side. And I will pull the yarn through all the way until this end. So here you can either tie a loop or you can just knot it, depending on how you're gonna hang your pom-pom garland. But so for right now, I'm just gonna tie a little loop. I just did a little slip knot for my loop for all of my crocheters, but tie a loop or a knot in any way that you would like, and it'll just keep that pom-pom on the end. And then now I'll move on to my next pom-pom. Pulling all the way through until it's about the distance that I want it away from that maroon pom-pom. I think I do want them a little closer together. So I think I ended up leaving probably like 4 inches in between each of them. And then you'll just continue this process on until all of your pom-poms are strung together. Okay, so now that I have everybody strung together, I didn't use nearly as much yarn as I thought I was going to. Because this is a smaller pom-pom garland, so if you want a longer one, just keep on making pom-poms and keep on adding them to this length of yarn. But now that I'm here, I am just going to tie another loop on this end. And cut off my excess yarn. All right, so our pom-pom garland is done. I will come at a different angle and show you. So this is what our final pom-pom garland looks like. I will show you some pictures of it hanging up as well. And I did make a prototype of this that's hanging in my house at home, but because we're at the library, I'll add some pictures of that for you as well. If you try out this craft, let me know what you thought of it and if it is just as good as a store-bought version of this craft. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, so now we're moving on to craft number 2, which is this book page wreath. So to make this craft, you will need a book that you're okay tearing up and turning into a craft, a cardboard box that you can then cut into pieces to glue to, a glue gun, some glue sticks, and a pair of scissors or a box cutter. So to make this wreath, it has 3 different layers of these paper rolls here, and I'll show you the way to roll up these papers to make this kind of flower petal type design. But so for the first layer, you'll need 16 full pages from a book. For the second layer, you'll need 16 full pages from a book. And then for the inner layer, you'll just need 8 full pages from a book, and then you'll cut those in half. So I already made my little rolls before, but this is what you'll roll into the first 2 layers is a longer page and then a little half page for the inner layer. To glue our project to, you're going to want a piece of cardboard. So what I'm going to be demoing here is gluing to a diamond or a square piece of cardboard. But if you wanted to make it look a little bit more like a wreath with a hole in the center, you could do a hexagon shape and then have the tips of your little rolls coming into the center to make a little circle as well. But so this is just another idea. To cut these out, I just laid a cardboard box on my floor and cut the shape I wanted with a box cutter. But you could do this with scissors. It just might take a little bit longer and a little bit more finagling. But I just cut it out and then I just punched the shapes out of the cardboard. But so upcycle the cardboard boxes that you may be getting lots of things in the mail from and make this craft. When I cut out my pages, I also used a box cutter to get a straight line. So you can just use a box cutter and cut your pages so that you don't have a ripped look. But if you want a ripped edge to your pages, that's totally fine too. Okay, so for folding your pages into the little book spirals, you'll want to take it along the short edge and just curl it over into a pinwheel shape. So you have kind of a cone here, and then we'll add an L or a triangle of hot glue along this edge. And then you have a large size of the little book cone. So for this project, you will need 32 of these large book cones and 16 of these smaller book cones. For the smaller book cone, you're just going to use the same exact process. Some of my pages were blank, so I decided to put the blank portion on the inside so that I could have words printed on the outside. But so you'll take along the short edge, you'll just roll it up. You'll just roll it up until you have a little cone. And some of these cones, they may not all be twins. They may look like sisters or cousins, but we just want them to be related so that you have kind of a uniform look to your project. But they don't all have to be perfectly the same. Okay, so you've made all of your book cones, your book page cones. Now is the process of gluing them to your cardboard base. So to get from here, we're going to start here. So as you can see, I've glued down 8 of my cardboard cones, and I flipped this into the diamond side. So for the first 4 cones, I did them each to the points of the diamond, and then in between each of those, I added an extra cone. So now, to fill out the first row, which is 16 cones, I'm going to add 1 cone in between each of these spaces, so another 8 cones. And I'll do that just by adding a line of hot glue and tacking my cone right on into the center. Just like that. So then we'll continue around and do this another 7 times. Be as neat or as messy as you would like aligning these little cones into the center, because when you decorate your end product wreath, you can put a little bow in the center like I did with that one, or you can put some berries or flowers or anything else that you want to cover up the center. But if you want it to be nice and pretty, you can make sure that everything aligns in the way that you would like. Okay, so here we are with our first layer. I try to, as evenly as possible, stick the little tips into the center because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to decorate this second one. But you can see that you can still see a bit of cardboard, and we will fix that in the second layer. But so this is our very first layer. Everyone is here and glued onto the cardboard. So for the second layer on that first wreath, I wanted the petals to come in a little bit closer, so I snipped off this inner portion. But if you wanted to keep the petals the exact same size, you could just glue them on in the same fashion. It would make your wreath a little flatter and a little less poofy. But it's whatever you want in your design. But so we're going to go around, and I think I'm going to snip them again, just 1.5 inches off of the bottom. And I'll snip it in a diagonal so that it kind of still resembles the point that we're trying to make. But so now you're going to glue these in between each of the existing cones that we have going here. This is what our second layer looks like now. My tubes were a little bit fat towards the center, so I had to kind of squish them in together. But that's okay because we still have one more layer left to go. So for this smaller cone layer, you're going to continue going around, just gluing them in, just in the same fashion, but now they're smaller so you don't have to cut off a little piece from the bottom. Okay, so here is the final layer of our Christmas wreath. You can see that compared to that other one, this one turned out a lot thicker. And I think that's just because of the thickness I rolled the paper rolls into. But so I kind of ran into an issue here where some of the smaller rolls wouldn't fit in. So I just kind of leaned into it, made it look kind of more like a organic flower instead of a perfect circle. So a couple of these stick out a little bit more, but that's okay. But so you can leave your wreath like this, and you can just hang it on the wall. From what I think with the cardboard, I think just attaching some command strips or some tape to the back side and then squishing this onto the wall would be a good way to secure it. But I want to zhuzh this up a little bit and add a little bit of extra flair just like the other one. So I just picked up some decorations from the dollar store. So I used a couple of the things from this on my other wreath, but I have this one and I also have these little berries. I think I might use the berries for this wreath. But so just some inexpensive little decor pieces to hot glue onto this wreath. You could even probably raid your own holiday decor supplies and find things that you could add to your wreath as well. Maybe you have some ribbon, maybe you want to make some little bows out of wrapping paper, that would be really cute. But just to add a little bit of holiday flair. Also, and I can leave this picture on the screen, there was an idea from Pinterest where you could put in some springtime leaves and change this craft up to make it a spring craft. It doesn't have to necessarily be a Christmas craft. I'm just kind of making it into a Christmas wreath. So I'm gonna just pluck off the little berries from these stems I got from the dollar store. I think I want this little green thing too. So I have a little green, a little bit of red, and then I'll arrange these and see how I like them. And I'll show you where it ended up. Okay, so after I added some holly berries, this is how our final project came out. Like I said, you can use anything to decorate this wreath that you would like. You don't even have to make it wintry. You could make it any different season that you would like as well. And if you try this craft, send me some of your pictures so that I can see how your wreaths turned out as well. Okay, all right. Next, you'll see me in my kitchen because for the sugar scrub, we are going to be using measuring cups. So, see you at the next craft. Awesome.
To begin making this sugar scrub, you will start with 1 1/4 cup of sugar, and you'll add it into a small bowl, or you can see I have a 4-cup Pyrex here. And then you will add 3 tablespoons of your choice of citrus juice. I used lime because I thought it would go well in this scrub. Your oil, I chose to use organic virgin coconut oil, and I chose to use the unrefined oil because I read in a blog that it's good for sugar scrubs, and it also smells very delicious as well. If you don't have coconut oil or don't choose to buy coconut oil for this project, you can also use olive oil as well. Then you can see here that I'm adding a few drops of vitamin E oil. This is really good for your skin, but this is a totally optional step in this recipe. And here I'm also adding a few drops of lemongrass as well, because I thought it would go well with this sugar scrub combination, but you can add any kinds of essential oil or leave this step out as well. Then you can see I'm going to try and give it a big good mix together. I'm starting here first with a spoon, but then I switch over to my fingers to try and break up those lumps of coconut oil. Unrefined coconut oil at room temperature is solid, so you'll definitely want to go ahead and break up those bits. I also decided to add a little bit more sugar as well to this sugar scrub to give it a more grainy texture. For our containers, you will definitely want to find some plastic containers for this sugar scrub so that whoever you give this gift to, if they're using their sugar scrub in the shower, if they drop it, they won't get glass all over their shower floor. And then I liked these lids because they just screwed on and they locked in tight, and they were a perfectly portable way to store the sugar scrub. If you try any of these crafts, please let me know how they turned out for you, and let me see how your crafts ended up as well. Again, this is Kaylee with the Boulder City Library in Boulder City, Nevada, and I've had a lot of fun crafting with you. Happy December, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.